Hey friends, so let's talk about something that we have kind of discussed on the channel a little bit, but have not really done a deeper dive on. It's something that exists in our relationships with other people, and I mean any kind of relationship here, not just of the romantic variety. It's something that you generally don't get a warning about when you first meet somebody, though sometimes you can see glimpses of this behavior later on the longer that you know somebody. And you can definitely learn some things about this when you observe how they navigate relationships that they have with other people who are not you also. I'm not talking about like a first date or the first time you go to a party or a concert together. And I'm not even talking about the first time that that person lets you down or hurts your feelings or you have an argument or even a falling out. I'm talking about how they exit their relationship with you, whether it was a breakup or a serious rift between you or even a situation where you just outgrew each other. The reason that it ended is actually the least important thing. The fact is that when it does end, that final version of them, so to speak, is more revealing about who that person really is than you think. It shows you what their true self is with no filters or masks or paint over their real colors. That person that they are then also shows you how they truly feel about you and that relationship with you too. Because you see, the thing is, when we first meet someone, we are not usually meeting the real, raw, unfiltered version of them. This is especially true with romantic relationships. People are really on their best behaviors there because they want to make a good first impression. They want you to like them. They want those feelings of like to grow into something more, a deeper connection. So they cover up their shortcomings and their flaws, basically anything that they think might make you lose interest in them. This is not them being fake or deceptive. This is something that everybody does. And it's something that you do with any kind of relationship. You certainly do it with friends, too. It's something that's kind of a callback to a very basic desire that we all have as humans, and that is the desire to be liked. We all want to be liked by others, even the people who are constantly telling you how much they don't care if anybody likes them. This might be an unpopular opinion here, but I firmly believe it, so I'm going to share it anyway. The people who say things like this are actually the people who care the most if other people like them. Any person I have ever met who has made it a big point to tell me how much they don't care if people like them or what people think are always the same people who are obsessed with that metric. They cannot stand the idea that someone doesn't like them, and they will go way out of their way to get their attention or get in their good graces. And if it doesn't work, they become obsessed with having a vendetta against them. The people I'm thinking of, by the way, are not kids or angsty teens. They are grown-ass adults who are willing to put on this dog and pony show to redeem themselves and their image in front of people who might have an unfavorable opinion of them. All while talking about how much they don't care about any of that, of course. It would almost be funny if it wasn't so sad. And that's probably the most polite way I think I can put that. Anyway, putting those folks aside, it really is true. Humans have an innate need to be liked. Some psychologists believe that this need actually starts from birth, because that is a time during which we are completely dependent on somebody else to literally survive. And it grows along with us as we get older, turning into a desire to belong. Speaking from an evolutionary standpoint, this tracks perfectly. I mean, in ancient times, humans relied on each other for a lot, right? Food, security, and safety in numbers, shelter, etc. Those things are building blocks to communities even today. I mean, we may not all get our food from the same source or pool our resources, though some people might, but when we are going somewhere dangerous, what's the first thing that people will say? Don't go alone. When there is something fishy happening around, say, your neighbor's house, what do? You pick up the phone and ask, hey, so-and-so, there's a sketch-looking dude walking around by your house. Are you home? I want to make sure that you're safe, or whatever. And on the flip side of that, when you didn't belong in ancient history, it was probably harder for you to partake in sharing of resources, and if you went missing, well, probably nobody noticed. Because, once again, humans are, and have always been, social animals who need other people. With that said, I think most people are at least self-aware enough to realize when they have some habits or behaviors that might be seen as negative by others, and that might, in turn, make someone not like them very early on in a relationship. So, at that point, they won't be putting those things forward. They might not intentionally try to hide it, they might not be malicious about it, but let's be real here. Saying something like, hey, I am obsessed with 90s sitcom character Steve Urkel, and I have all these pictures of him in my bedroom, and I sleep with a life-size doll of him every night. Oh, and my mother lives with me, and her full-time job is to sew outfits for that doll. That is not really something you want to bring up on a first date, unless, of course, you definitely don't want a second one. So, yeah, when in a situation where we want to make a good first impression, so to speak, we tend to put our crazy away and only put our best foot forward. This is all perfectly normal. As the relationship moves along, you tend to be more yourself. You don't bring out all the crazy at once, but you might drop a few hints around now and then. At some point, the shoes both drop. Everything's out. And in most relationships and friendships, not much changes. The things that you might have been worried about in the beginning that are just quirks and idiosyncrasies that you have, that's what makes you you, and that's what makes the other person them, and that's what you like about each other, and that's all she wrote, right? Of course, in some cases, along that path of getting to know you, you might find that someone misrepresented themselves. They might have really, really bad habits that are tough on you or them and the relationship, or some big ass skeletons in their closet that make them complicated to be with, like addictions or issues in their past or significant baggage or drama with an ex or family or whatever. Some things will be deal breakers, unfortunately. Others won't be. That's going to be up to the people involved. And truthfully, friends, I have always said that almost everything is figure-outable, as long as you are honest about it and you are willing to do the work to make corrections where they are necessary, and both parties can live with that solution. Your relationships with others become so much more healthy, actually, when you make a commitment, not just to each other, but to doing this, to working through your issues together while keeping your own self-awareness and focus. But all of this stuff applies to relationships that are active, living things, because, well, relationships are living things. And how we define people often comes from what we see are their good moments, the version of themselves they gave us when everything was new and shiny and filled with potential, when they cared and they were invested in the relationship and in us, when they were listening and trying. The end of the relationship is not like this at all. It is usually a lot more unfiltered and honest, too, because the gloves come off. All of those things they were just dying to tell you that they didn't like about the relationship or you, here it all comes. And at that point, there is seemingly nothing else to lose. So why not? I mean, the relationship is not at risk anymore. The relationship is over. That version of them, that final version of them, that is where the truth is. Think about it this way. You can think you know somebody really, really well for years, decades even, and something happens that makes you question some things. And let's be honest, You don't really, really know someone until you tell them no, you disappoint them, you stop giving or doing for them, you enforce a boundary, or you need them more than they need you. The way they handle those moments, that is an excellent indicator of how deep their loyalty and their feelings about you really are. It's sort of like a test, one that hopefully they are standing on the other side of, waving a green flag and not a red one. But when it is a red one, and if and when the relationship goes south, it is going to change our perception of that person, which of course it is. When someone hurts or wrongs us, it is very normal and very human to look at them a little differently, especially if whatever happened cut pretty deep or it happened out of the blue and without warning. The thing is, though, while we are usually eager to define people by the good in them, those good moments we talked about a few minutes ago, we usually don't want to define people or redefine them by how they left their relationship with us. It's not hard to figure out why, right? I mean, that final version of them, sometimes it hurts. It can make us question everything that came before it too. Almost like it's not just painful to our emotions, but a betrayal of our memories too. Nothing can quite keep you up at night wondering things like, if that person was so easily able to turn on me, were they ever really my friend at all? Or if they were able to just end this relationship so easily, did it ever actually matter to them? Did I matter to them? This can be pretty crazy making, to say the least. So instead, we romanticize the beginning and tell ourselves that maybe that version was the real one and they're just having a bad day or a week or a month or a couple of years or whatever. We replay that middle and we start to look for bright spots that reinforces that. And then we Photoshop right over the ending because the real picture that is there is not one we want to look at. It's one that we don't like. But here's the thing. The end is the only part where they were not editing for your benefit. They weren't trying to win you over anymore. They weren't trying to impress you. They weren't trying to stay or repair things or work on anything. And if that version that leaves is cruel and careless and cowardly or cold, that version still counts. In fact, it might be the version that counts most because it's the most authentic. That most authentic version can tell you quite a few other things about the person too. One of the biggest ones is their level of emotional maturity. People who are emotionally mature tend to communicate with you, even if what they have to say is unpleasant or difficult. They understand how important it is to not just leave people hanging emotionally, which, to be perfectly honest, seems to happen a lot these days, and I don't really get that. Call it ghosting or whatever you want, but to me, just disappearing from someone's life where everything seems fine or what have you, just says, I'm emotionally avoidant and I don't know how to sit with discomfort, so bye. And, well, that kind of makes sense. I mean, people who are emotionally avoidant do not have the ability to handle life issues in a healthy way. That doesn't have anything to do with you, by the way. It's their MO for everything. And it will happen with other things and other people down the road too. At least until they finally do that inner work to heal that. Another thing that authentic endings tell you is their level of respect for you. Did they tell you the truth about how you got to the end, or did they lie or omit things to keep the peace or protect themselves or make them look like a less awful person? Someone who respects you and cares about you also cares about how they make you feel. So, they're going to be honest and believe you deserve real answers, even if that honesty makes them look a little bad. They aren't going to give you those BS excuses like, it's not you, it's me, unless that is truly, truly the reason. And let's face it, that it's not you, it's me thing is BS like 85% of the time. And if they are telling you this with great drama and gravity, where it almost seems performative, it's because it probably is. Some people will sit there and give you tearful, dramatic, and Oscar-worthy speeches about how they don't want to be in a relationship and how much hurting you is hurting them, etc., and so forth. But as soon as they bounce, what do? They get into another relationship fairly quickly. Another unpopular opinion here, but telling people it's not you, it's me, when that isn't the actual truth, is worse than just lying to them. It's not that those people don't want to be in a relationship. It's that they don't want to be in one with you. And sure, that sounds harsh, but sometimes the truth is. It's unpleasant. It's still the truth, though. And I think telling someone something different, like we are not aligned in what we want from a relationship, so breaking things off will allow you to find someone who wants the same things, and it'll allow me to do that too, is perfectly fine to say if that's really just how you feel. And it's a cleaner break that lets everyone move on and still maintain a level of respect for each other without needing to interject what is basically just a nicely dressed lie into the mix. Because, look, no matter how nicely packaged and polished a lie is, it is still a lie. And lies only erode trust and respect. So, just tell people the truth. It really does make a difference. Two other things that authentic exits tell you a lot about. First, the other person's sense of responsibility. That one's easy to see. I mean, did they own their part of the problem, or did they just blame you for everything and head out? If it's the latter, then you're dealing with someone who has a lot to learn about themselves, about relationships, and about reality, because when relationships fall apart, it is extremely rare to have a situation where one of the parties is completely blameless. I mean, honestly, sometimes their part of the blame is simply in letting that other person get away with things that they should have called them out on a long time ago before you got here. Second, that person's level of self-awareness. This one is interesting. Sometimes a person's lack of self-awareness is glaringly obvious, and then other times you don't figure this out about them until things have been over for some time and you realize that this person didn't learn a damn thing about your time together or anything, and is out here repeating the same cycles with somebody different or whatever over and over. I'm going to be really honest about this too, because this is something that bothers me tremendously, probably because I know how much it can hurt to deal with it. And I don't ever want anybody else to go through it, even if I don't know them, because, well, I care about people. If you are struggling with an issue that you know you have, such as significant baggage or trauma from a previous relationship or emotional avoidance issues or whatever it is that makes you unable to give what you get in your relationships, then please, for the love of God, heal before you deal. Heal before you deal. Work on those issues. As the banner on this channel, and also these handy stickers, and these handy stickers say, go fix yourself so that you don't just continue to put more people through the same emotional ringer and make them collateral damage in the war you're fighting with yourself. Care about them enough to and handle this so that the connections you form with them are healthy. Trust me when I say that this is not only good for you and for them and for the relationship, of course, but it is also excellent for your karma. I'm going to leave that one right there because I don't think anything else needs to be said. So here's what I'll leave you with. The final version that you get if somebody tells you everything that you need to know about who they really are. Sitting here trying to figure out what mask they were wearing when and what made it fall off and what the end of your story together and why the end of your story together just didn't match the other parts. None of that is going to change anything. Stop giving credit for potential or possibilities when they bailed on reality. You don't need to keep holding the memory of who they were when they already showed you who they are. That final version of someone is their legacy in your story. You don't need closure because, as we have discussed before many times, that's a myth anyway. Their ending, that authentic ending, was the closure. And sometimes you have to let that ending, whether it be a happy or unhappy one, just be enough. That's all I've got for you this week. I'll be back next week with another priority message. Until then, take good care of yourselves. Bye.